Hey, it's Liz Reed of Cuddles and Rage, and today I'm going to show you how to make our miniature tacos. These guys have been featured on BuzzFeed and are always a super fan fave at conventions. So let's get to sculpting. All right, so let's start off where you need tan clay and we also need yellow clay. And what you're gonna do here is you're gonna mix the clay together. So there you go, that's the color that you're shooting for. It's a little bit of a darker yellow, not quite brown, because we're going to be shading it a bit later. And also here is the plate that we're going to use for our taco. You can just get that at any miniature store. And here I'm just making a basic taco shape. It's just a little soft kind of half circle. And again, the plate is optional. I think it just adds a really fun touch to the miniatureness of the taco, but you can always make it into a charm or a magnet just using the tiny little taco guy himself. So the first thing you want to do is this is just like my little round dotting tool. If you don't have a metal tool like this, it's really just a tool that you can get at any craft store in the sculpting section. Then you can definitely use either a toothpick or something with like a fatter end, like something you'd find in like a toolbox, or I guess you could even use a screwdriver. Hey, get creative. There are so many things you can use, but basically what I'm doing here is I'm just making little indentions so I can put the lettuce inside the taco. All right, so once that's done, you want to excuse my nails. I'm so bad at painting them. But you want to take a toothbrush and you want to lightly dab it on the taco and give it some texture. One of the key things to making miniatures is making sure you nail the texture. What I like to do is just save my old toothbrushes and put them inside my little miniature go-to kit of tools. So once that's done, you want to pull out your pastel. So here is kind of like a light brownish color, yellowish brownish, and then a lighter brown color, not quite dark brown. And you want to take a brush that you don't care about, that you're okay with messing up, and you want to just dab it in the pastels and then take off the excess first and then dab it on your taco. You can see I got a little heavy on the left side here. And that's okay. You can always kind of like rub it in a little more, but that's why you want to take off any extras. And sometimes people don't shave off their pastels. They just scrape it right on the pure piece of chalk. And that works too, especially if you are just new to miniature sculpting and you're a little nervous about putting too much on there and not having an easy time correcting it. And I like to work on a glass surface. I just have a glass table that I got from IKEA because it's easy to wipe and clean and it's smooth enough. You could use a glass cutting board to do your clay on. I just like glass altogether because of its smoothness and its ability to just take a baby wipe and clean it off. So here we're just taking a little bit of green clay. If you can't find this color green at your local craft store, then just take some white clay, maybe just like a little bit of yellow clay, and you can mix it together. Usually, if you're having trouble finding a specific color, then you can mix that color and make it for yourself, and that'll also limit the amount of clay that you keep on hand because it will dry out. But here I'm just taking my little dotting tool and I'm just scraping off a little bit of green clay and I'm stuffing it in the middle. The scraping action is really what's key here because it gives you that flaky look of lettuce. And I like this part because it really just comes together on its own. So I'm going to speed it up here. Even though I know you guys want to see every piece of lettuce placed, but it takes a little bit longer because you're trying to hold the taco softly, but not too hard. You want to be gentle with the taco. Now you want to prep the plate for holding the clay taco. And liquid Sculpey is really great to use as an adhesive. Not only can you make like other different liquidy toppings with it, which you can see in other tutorials, but really it's great making clay stick to other things. So what I'm doing here is I'm dabbing a little bit of liquid Sculpey, taking a little bit of clay because that plate has like a little indentation in it. I want my taco to fit on it without being too bended. And then I'm attaching the taco to it. The next step here is making the sour cream. So you start off with liquid Sculpey and then you mix in some oil paint. And I suggest using just cheap oil paint. You don't need the fancy stuff for this. You're really just pulling out the pigment and a little bit of the texture of the paint. What I like to use is the flat end of my one of my clay tools. This again is a very common tool that you can find in a craft store. You can also use a toothpick. It's not a big deal. It's really just something that's clean and mixable. And you wanna mix the liquid Sculpey and the oil paint together until you get a good texture. All right, so now I feel like I'm talking at like a golf tournament. Now we're taking the sour cream and we're dabbing it gently, oh so gently, on the taco. Yeah, this part can get really messy, so be super duper careful. For here, I'm using just a rubber tipped tool. I love these tools. If you see them, grab them. They're really great and washable. In the past, I did use paintbrushes for this, but it would kind of destroy the paintbrush because I wasn't responsible and didn't clean it afterwards. So that's why I like the rubber tool. So I'd say if you don't have this type of tool, then just use a paintbrush you don't care about. You could use a toothpick, but I think you might have a harder time controlling the dabbing because this stuff is sticky and really unforgiving. Like once it's on there, you're going to have a hard time wiping it off the clay and not hurting your piece. So now that part is done. I always wipe my hands with craft wipes in between steps. You really want to keep your hands as clean as possible. And so next we're going into making the tomatoes. I keep my tomatoes really simple. Like I don't make tomato canes, which you can completely do. But I just keep it cartoony, which is my style. And just take little red dots, roll them out. And then you're just going to take your little rounded ended pointer thing. I know I should have like the technical term for this, but really it could be, like I said, maybe even the opposite end of a paintbrush would be good for that because it has that roundness to it. So you just want to take it in there and just smush the red dots a little bit to give like the indentation of tomatoes. And you just want to stick it in there and that'll stick to the clay. Really cute, simple. See the tacos coming together already. All right, so I'm using my rounded tool to kind of make little indentions for the eyes. This just helps to give a little indentation for the black clay eyes to adhere to. So here I'm just taking my 2 fingers and I'm making a little ball. And with that ball, you want to make a big ball and then you want to cut it in half so you can have the eyes the same size. I love it when I'm making a bunch of tacos and I have like 20 to go and all these eyes are different sizes and you're like, oh, I have to like re-roll all these eyes. So it really saves you some time if you take that extra effort to get your eyes the correct size because you don't want one eye like crazy bugging out on you. All right, so now that we have our eyes in place, I'm just taking a little needle tool. I was a little quick. You can't really see it, but it's basically the equivalent of a toothpick. And I'm just making a little happy face. And here is our clay taco. Guys, I hope you had fun making these tacos. There's a link below to our Etsy where if you're like, man, I don't want to make it, I just want to buy it. You can definitely find it on our Etsy site. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are looking for more clay tutorials or fun places where you can just follow Cuddles and Rage, definitely check out the links below. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, everywhere. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, this is Liz Reed of Cuddles and Rage.